All right, we have Commissioner Mullen made it. I understand the dog locked the pickup up on you.
Yeah, dog locked the pickup with the keys in it, my phone in it. And, you know, if you can't remember phone numbers anymore because they're all in your phone, it's a long walk from Gordon Winery to my house, about 10 miles. So
Well, you got your exercise.
I
in
did
for
get
the
my
day.
exercise, and the roads actually looked very nice out there, nice and smooth, and I was listening. for
All
that.
right. Well, it is November 15th, and we're here for the regular scheduled county commissioner meeting. We have two commissioners in the House. Commissioner Peck is at Spokane at Wasack. So at this time, I'll call the meeting to order and ask everyone to please rise and join in the pledge. All right, the first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. One was brought back and the other one was last week's.
I have no corrections to it unless you do.
Nope, they're good. Everything's good. Their consensus is the meeting minutes are good. Next is the approval of the vouchers. There's two, I believe.
Yes. Move for approval of fund expenditures in a total amount of $449,610.53 as presented, and note that it has been reviewed and signed by two representatives of the auditor's office and the county administrator.
I second. There's been a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Move for approval of salary clearing payroll and emergency management payroll in the total amount of $1,186,999.39 as presented. Note that it has been reviewed and signed by two representatives of the auditor's office.
I second. There's been a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Takes us down to public comment. Is there anybody in the room for public comment? Anybody on the line?
Commissioners, it was brought to my attention that perhaps that you might have a problem with me making public setting like this. So I need to state a few things. I was born in Spokane County, Deaconess Hospital, January 3rd, 1960. With that came my rights to practice them, to learn them, and to strategically decide when I was going to do this. I was educated in this country up until the Constitution, its amendment, what my rights were, and what privileges exist. How they exist. When I was in college, I further studied on the Constitution and how they apply, and also on due process, and also on the three legislative branches. When I come up to this mic and make statements, and I practice my First Amendment guarantee. Ran for sheriff, didn't make me not how I chose and when I chose. I had a mentor in my life. He was a Marine Lance Corporal. He was my uncle. He taught me two things. Be strategic. Don't ever give up your rights because you will never get them back. And I asked him, what do you mean by strategic? And he took me actually, at the time, he took me to a bar and he said, always put your back to the wall because you never know where it's coming, where someone's coming after you from. So keep your back to the wall in bar fights or anything else in life. And that way you learn and you live. So, disappointed to hear that some commissioners are questioning whether I can exercise my constitutional rights or not. But I'm going to exercise them when I choose, how I choose, and in what uniform I choose. So, I'm going to give you a piece of information today. In 2024, this legislative body is going to send $2.8 million to Benton County's Human Services in forms of grants. And out of those grants, Benton County Human Services will take $5,820 in administrative that they will tag for administering the people's grants of Franklin County. Wrong. We need to start looking at where are we sending our money, and this is just one set of grants. This isn't court grants. This isn't road fund grants. This isn't any of these things. This is one set of grants going to human resources. And you claim that we're not giving our money. No accountability. When we start checking on the accountability, there is none. Nothing's reported back to how is it that the citizens of Franklin County are getting their money out of these grants.
Thank you, Sheriff. We do have 3 minutes on public comment, and you're coming up as a public. Okay, 3 minutes.
I'll even talk to you during elected.
That would be nice, because then we could interact. Thank you. Is there anybody else for public comment? Seeing nobody else coming forward, nobody on the phone? No. Okay, that'll move us down to approval of the consent agenda. I believe there are 4 items on the consent agenda.
Move for approval of consent agendas, items 1 through 4 as presented.
I second. Is there any discussion?
No.
Hearing no discussion, we have a motion and a second for the 4 items on the consent agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Takes us down to the regular items of business. We have the janitorial bids. Ms. Wagner.
I'm a little discombobulated. We usually sit up here, so I'll just do it this way. Franklin County has a current janitorial contract, which expires on December 31st, 2023. Utilizing the MRSC and the Franklin County graphic, we had a mandatory walkthrough, which 3 janitorial companies were present for. We'll now open the bids from the janitorial companies that have bid on there.
I believe there are 3 bids. Just one?
They're all from the same company.
Oh, okay.
Is there,
On the last page, you'll have the bid amount.
thank you. The bid from ABM Janitorial well, which is no total. Consists of courthouse is $38,584.44. Public safety building will be $37,711.08. Criminal justice center will be $36,708.84. The corrections center will be $6,077.40. Security building will be $6,720.84. Building and planning at 502 Boeing will be $13,475.76. The annex building, which consists of WSU and the elections department, will be $12,058.44. The public works shop and the public works the public workshop located at 3416 will be $9,243.24. The public workshop located at 3414 will be $12,349.68. This is the only bid that we have received. That's it.
Okay, so from this point, we have our legal look over the bid, correct, for legality? And then we'll approve it next meeting, correct?
I believe that it's December 7th is what we said we would award the bid. So we still have to get contracts signed and resolution and everything
Okay.
else through the other.
Okay.
They
That'll
would
give time
review
for
that.
legal to review and,
Correct.
okay.
Thank you so much.
So just one bid. Thank you. All right, and that takes us down to the second item on the regular item agenda, and that is Superior Court bailiff presentation. Judge Burrows and Tiffany.
Thanks, Carter. Okay. Hooked up, ready to go yet? Little help from IT maybe? Good to go. Well, Commissioners, first of all, while they're working on our presentation, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to come speak to you about court operations. I'd also like to thank your county administrator for inviting me here tonight to talk about the significant change that's going to affect court operations here in Franklin County. So, Mr. Gonzalez, thanks for that opportunity.
My pleasure. Glad you're here.
I appreciate that. So today, we're here to talk about court operations, specifically with the bailiff's operations. As the commissioners know, that there are currently 8 by-county bailiffs that are represented by the Teamsters Union 839 through a collective bargaining agreement. Those 8 bailiffs cover 3 courtrooms in Franklin County and 6 courtrooms in Benton County. What's also unique about the bailiffs is that they have 2 unique responsibilities or privileges, if you will. They have unique privileges to the extent that other Washington counties do not have, specifically the privilege of carrying a concealed firearm in court facilities and the privilege of enforcing Washington laws within the courtroom as pursuant to a limited commission granted by the Benton County Sheriff's Department. Up until recently, specifically, these bailiffs were commissioned by the law enforcement officer, the Sheriff's Department, and they're unique to the extent for over 50 years. They have provided courtroom security, to both Franklin and Benton County, and almost 30 years as a condition of employment, they were required to carry a firearm within the court setting, and it's the expressed intent of the bailiffs to provide that security pursuant to RCW 941-300. While that unique opportunity that has been the privilege of the bailiff serving the independent judiciary while we're conducting court, there's been some significant changes that has occurred that directly affect the bailiffs, and specifically, Tiffany, it is, oh, thank you, you're already there, you're right in front of me, okay, great. It's to the extent that the limited commission peace officers have changed pursuant to the recent change in the law, specifically to the Senate bill. They call it 5051, which is a requirement that all peace officers, pursuant to the change in the law, which has been codified in RCW 43101, that requires certain training requirements, if you will, for any law enforcement officers that are commissioned. And in this case, the limited commission. So as it says here on the slide, is that all law enforcement personnel shall engage in basic law enforcement training which complies with the standards adopted by the commission pursuant to RCW 46-101-080. Further, that as a condition of employment, this is really important, is that the certification must be maintained and required by the rules of the commission. So what that says is that in order for at least from our interpretation, is that the bailiffs, in order to carry a firearm within just the court setting, not outside the court, is that special commission, which is issued by the sheriff, they must also be certified by the Washington Criminal Justice Training Center, or the CJTC, with respect to their limited commission. You can go ahead to the next slide. What's important and how it relates to the bailiffs is that while the current bailiff job description specifically requires them to carry a firearm and be limited commission, while nothing in the current bailiff job description states they'll serve as peace officers, saying instead serve as courtroom security, and that the Benton County Sheriff's Office, and specifically granting the bailiff's limited commission or special commission, has specified the bailiffs as a peace officer. While that can be and has been, maybe debated, but I will indicate that pursuant to the court's review of RCW 43-101-0951, all peace officers, as I've indicated, must be certified by the Washington Criminal Justice Training Commission as a condition of employment. That statement there means that, at least from our interpretation and our legal interpretation from our counsel, that they're required to have basic law enforcement training and requirements. What that means is a basic training academy. And what is also noteworthy, that most of our bailiffs are either retired law enforcement officers and or jailers, to the extent that some, if not all, may have attended some form of the training certification. But as the CJTC certification indicates, as the last paragraph says, if there's any break and lapse in their service as a law enforcement, meaning within 24 to 60 months, they got to go back and redo the full training, which would also be a difficult for the bailiffs that are, may have already attended the training to be recertified. And what's that look like? Well, to the extent that if no bailiff has been employed by a law enforcement officer, the short answer is that the way the interpretation is that they would need to go to basic training They would need to go and spend, I would defer to the law enforcement, I believe it's about 3 to 4 months of extensive law enforcement training. They would also, if the sheriff, whichever sheriff would require that limited commission to the extent how they interpret it, it may be also a refresher like a reserve academy or some other, something less intensive as the training, full training requirements as set forth by the commission. But it's more importantly that's only one aspect of that new law, specifically to the extent a full, if the bailiffs were required to go through that training and be considered a law enforcement officer, they would also have to go through the background check, an intensive background polygraph check, and also specifically the way that, at least from my interpretation or our interpretation, they review all their social media, psych tests, and all the rest of that to be qualified as a law enforcement officer. What's also the change is that this resolution or this new law come into effect in July of 2023, which is not that long ago. And I will just say that we have met with the current sheriff of Benton County, indicating that he is, are you on the next slide? Go ahead to the next slide. Oh, you're good. Okay. Has indicated that he's pulling his commission, limited commission cards for all bailiff effective December 1st, 2023. And what that says is that now that limited commission is no longer effective. Also, the limited commission will no longer have peace officer powers and such. They will not be able to carry firearms or tasers within any of the courtrooms in both Benton and Franklin counties without the ability to function as a bailiff. The important part here is that the position will no longer exist as it is today. And that's a challenge for the court to the extent that now that the Superior Court courtrooms will not have security, and that leaves a number of our judicial officers and staff and all the folks that come into the courtroom at risk. I will just say that change, going through the impact to our staff is not been taken lightly. We have explored many options to the extent of how to interpret this new change in the law and how to consider other options that would be in compliance with the new law and in compliance with the sheriff. The ultimate decision is based on the review of the new law and a discussion with risk management with respect to the liability of maintaining the bailiffs, their firearms qualifications, even without the special limited commission, is untenable. So therefore, it's the position of the bench, and as I do represent the bench tonight on this one subject, it is come to the decision that position will no longer exist. We're hopeful that the new positions that our current bailiffs are filling will apply for the new position that we see. That we're hopeful to be in front of you soon to talk about that. And it is a long-term issue that we have to address. So how does that affect the folks of Franklin County come December 1? Well, as I've had discussion with the sheriff, and I'm going to ask the sheriff to come up and speak a little bit about his responsibility with respect to the courthouse and the courtroom security. In essence, in a nutshell, the judiciary branch is getting out of the security business within the courtrooms, and we're turning that over in short to the elected sheriffs for them to control that security both inside courtrooms and outside courtrooms. And what comes out of that, that's really up to the sheriff's department to determine how and when or what they're going to decide how that will look like. We're always willing to work with the Sheriff's Department, with both Sheriff's Department on what it may look like in the future and how to work with our partners to ensure that all citizens of Franklin County are protected, because most of you know that courtrooms are very contentious. And most decisions that are made, affect everyone's life that we make. And some folks, are not happy. And some can be very disgruntled. And there are a number of security incidents that do happen both in the courtroom and outside the courtroom. And I can say unequivocally from my experience, they do happen. They do happen often, and it is concerning for the bench of how this is going to affect not only the staff, the other elected officials that have staff in the courtroom, the clerk, or any other, the jail staff, the Sheriff's Department, and just the lawyers and the all the litigants that are in the courtroom. It's also is concerning for the court, but I want to be real clear. It's not our doing. It's not the court's doing. It's the change in the law to the extent that is directly affected by the limited commission cards, or the limited commission issued by the sheriff, and that we don't control that aspect of it. So I've asked Carly from the HR department from Benton County to speak about if you had some questions about any issues with the staffing. I have Tiffany here to talk about any of the questions that you might have about the historical knowledge or any issues that she may have come across. But I think the important things that I'm telling the board today is I'm not asking for a decision today. I'm not asking for you to vote on anything. I'm just here to tell you I'm the messenger that things are going to change come December 1. Will it impact the county? Absolutely. I can't stand up here and say it's not, to the extent both financially, how it looks after December 1st, I don't know. I just know it will impact the county overall, and that will be left up to the sheriff to make that determination of how or what. I will just say this. We're not leaving people unsecured, to the extent that the sheriff here in Franklin County does a great job on the security coming in with respect to wanting and securing, scanning packages. And there is a layer of security. While it might not be what we would like to have in the courtroom. If I would be foolish to tell you that I wouldn't want security in all my courtroom or in the courtrooms that I'm in. I do. We are an advocate for all security in all courtrooms when they're operating, and we're in support of that. How that happens, it's not within our purview. It's really up to the board and the elected sheriff to do that. So I don't know if Carly, if you wanted to, did I miss anything? Okay, Tiffany, anything? I've asked the sheriff if he would like to come up and speak, Sheriff Raymond, because I did speak with him previously about this issue. Sheriff Raymond?
So commissioners, there's a few not facts. The elected sheriff of the county can issue commissions to anybody he chooses. He's not at the dictate of the Criminal Justice Training Commission. Where this gets foggy is that you have judges that are the judicial branch that were controlling the operations of bailiffs in the well, what was referred to as the well, and that's the actual courtroom. Anytime individuals are brought from inside the jail, they are escorted, and there is armed sheriff's office staff with limited commissions that the CJT, the state, nobody else controls. I control those commissions. So that's that piece, okay? Several years ago, when I was elected sheriff, I started asking the question, who's training these bailiffs? Because both sheriffs just routinely gave a commissioned to them without any standards or any training to act upon in the commission that they're being given. And the problem with that is that liability lies on me. And so I, at the time, said, well, either they comply with sheriff's office training standards, and then I'll issue them the limited commissions. And what I got back from the judges at the time was, no thanks, we're not going to do that. And they said, well, you can withdraw your commission cards. So I did so, and it's been that way for a long time. On the other side of the river in Benton County continued to issue those. The Benton County Sheriff continued to issue those limited commissions. I had a discussion with Sheriff Croskery and told him, your commission doesn't work in Franklin County, and I don't care if it is in a bi-county court. Your commissions will not be utilized in Franklin County, and to my knowledge, he never has. So it's two different issues. You now have two sheriffs going, nope, not issuing them. We're pulling them back, and the courts will have to figure out their security. So for campus security, you are covered. When we have inmates in the courtrooms, they're there with uniformed personnel. And in the courtrooms, the law reads that the sheriff will attend courts. Doesn't say when, how, just says he'll attend. Beyond that, so audience areas of your courtrooms, the sheriff's office controls that in some form or fashion and makes sure those things are covered. We are going through a process now of instructing staff in the building how to call and who to call and if they have emergencies in the courtrooms. But until there's some sort of thing figured out, there won't be in the well uniformed, commissioned deputy sheriffs unless we figure out a way to fund that. We have 3 courtrooms. It's a no-brainer for me. It's a fully commissioned deputy in uniform with all the training and all the equipment if I'm going to take on those responsibilities. And the short math is probably about $150,000 a year per. And I get to say who will hold the commission, not the CJTC, not the judges, and not which group. So if that makes clarification for you, as you know, you come through the courthouse, it's manned by corrections deputies now, and the corrections deputies take care of the inmates, and the corrections deputies are authorized while in uniform, while on duty and being paid to respond to any emergencies in the general areas of the courthouse. So there does need to be discussions. It's a difficult conversation, but at the end of the day, if you're going to have sheriff's deputies, it's going to cost. And where are you going to get those monies from is what you all would have to decide. But between that fix or whatever fix everybody's going to come up with, will ensure that the general public safety in the courthouse. But we will not be doing bailiff duties in the well of Superior Court. Questions?
So the training that they're asking for, what would be the approximate cost on that?
To attend the academy?
Yeah, I know it's
So
got
the
to be
academy is
expensive.
about 4 months, okay? So you pay wages, you pay academy costs, so that you can get a certificate at the end of that thing that says that you're a certified police officer, okay? They don't issue the commissions. The state doesn't issue the commissions and don't have authority to issue commissions. But those costs run oh, somewhere by the time you're done with wages, training and all that, for the first year, 80 to 100,000 to get started, because you have to calculate a lot of things in, radios, bazookas, flamethrowers, certifications, all those type of things. And you have to equip them with the knowledge to make arrests. The way it's being done now, you know, I know this from being a certified police officer and a police officer in this state is you can't hold a commission or work in law enforcement when you retire from it. Just police officers that impacts, nobody else, just police officers, that if you're gonna hold a state certification, et cetera, and be involved in some sort of PERS or left, then you don't get a start into a new one and keep putting in it. It all stops and you take whatever wage there is. And that whole process is, again, not controlled by a commission card.
And the state that's asking for these requirements, they're not willing to pay for that training, are they?
Well, I don't know, are you?
No, I said
Yeah.
the state.
Oh, the state?
Yeah, the state.
Yeah, the state pays a little bit of a portion of it, but we pay for those training fees and those costs and stuff.
Right.
Yeah. So just as general information, the basic law enforcement academy for fully commissioned law enforcement officers is a little over 4 months. It's 2 months for a corrections deputy. In training and costs before they actually start working. So
This would be quite an expense.
it's
We have
going to
this
be quite of an expense if you're going to try to push it on to the sheriff's offices to do it. But we probably need to have some discussions about it.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
I got a question. So if somebody was to get this certification, you still have the final say whether or not he's going to be in that courtroom.
You got it.
There you go.
Yep. Yep. If you read the
Yep.
RCWs and the Constitution of the state, the elected sheriff controls commissions.
Yep.
Um,
Okay, thank you. Judge Burrows, I got some questions for you. We just went through COVID, and we went through a courtroom that had a lot of virtual going on. Oh, why can't we get right back to that? But the prisoners, well, I know you can't control the crowd. You put them in a separate room with a camera, then you control the prisoner. But to control the courtroom, you still need to have somebody in there.
Yeah, as the sheriff indicates, he has the authority. I have the authority within my courtroom to control how I control that courtroom. So I want to be real clear about that authority. Also, I'm going to answer a question. Yes, COVID did a severe impact not only to the court system, but access to justice, due process, a number of issues with respect to folks getting their cases heard and resolved in a timely manner. Pursuant to that, I call it a horrific event that affected the court, not only in getting cases out, but also the backlog of all the cases and trying to get through all those cases, both criminal, civil, and other cases that have lingered a long time. The court has initiated, as we're using tonight, WebEx and the WebEx technology. Like it, hate it, don't really want to use it, or got to use it, it's in the courtroom.
Right.
And we utilize that in all courtrooms all the time as a tool to be efficient and comply with certain, again, I'm not going to get into details, but there are certain court rules that mandate in court and certain statute allow other folks, and I'm speaking about domestic violence protection orders, allows specifically litigants to participate by video, specifically WebEx, Zoom, or some other type of technology. And certain rules are relaxed to the extent that you are able to use video technology, meaning the confrontation clause the confrontation clause, that you can have an opportunity to address your accuser and address the witnesses that are testifying, either in a criminal matter specifically. So that WebEx has been an efficient tool to utilize both court proceedings in criminal matters and civil. But how it affects the criminal, I'll just take one example. As the sheriff alluded to, there are a number of correction officers that during certain criminal proceedings, meaning first appearances, arraignments, are done in the correction facility, meaning that there is a WebEx down in the correction facility in which there is a defense attorney and their client are down there in that video technology to conduct certain hearings. Also, to the extent that it has a two-way video and audio and making sure that we can all be heard and a record to be made. But it also affects other litigants that can, as you all folks know, open meetings or open public meetings are an important part in Washington, and therefore that all parties can view what goes on in the courtroom. That's another tool that we use to allow the open courtrooms. So I'm getting there to your question. I'm getting there, but I want to lay the groundwork, Commissioner Ditter. It is, in essence, has reduced the courtroom population, if you will, because now they can utilize WebEx. Where that is impacted significantly is family law. To the extent family law cases where the lawyers are in their office with their clients and they are, for lack of a better word, video in. And where there are certain courtrooms you may not have anybody there, but everybody's on WebEx. So that reduces some security concerns because it may be one or two people. But in a high volume dockets, to the extent criminal protection orders, they're generally in court. And so to limit that number, video technology has helped the court and helped litigants to use options. Is it a be-all, end-all, fix-all? No. And the court has utilized that technology to help mitigate and comply with certain rules. So I don't know if I kind of gave you the whole barrel for you about it, but it does eliminate some concerns with security.
Well, if we can't have a bailiff in the courtroom and we need a safe courtroom, we're going to have to go to virtual.
Well,
Is there a law that prohibits that in certain cases?
I'm going to just say yes. It's called the confrontation clause. But in criminal matters, I'm not certain that that's the way to go. And I'm going to just be real candid with you. Some courts, bigger jurisdictions, do all their court proceedings by virtual, and effective, ineffective, it's subjective. But in my experience, in that you need to have the option. It's just another tool, Commissioner, that the court uses to help ensure due process, helps to process the cases. Do I believe video technology, WebEx, is going to be the way to go? I do not. And there are meaningful value to come to the courthouse and have their case in front of a judge and you face to face.
Yep.
Maybe I'm just old school. I don't know.
No, there's a lot of value to that. I have to agree.
The other thing is, Commissioner Ditter, I just want to say, you are concerned with courtroom security, as we are. But I will just say this, there are other mitigating factors to the security that I alluded to. One, the courthouse is being scanned, metal detector and x-ray. There also are technology, cameras within the courtrooms. Also, there are various duress buttons within the courtroom, and that, I think the sheriff alluded to that just a tad, that can be utilized if a situation comes to rise in the courtroom. Outside the courtroom, that there is none that I'm aware of other than the cameras and somebody calling 911. And I will say that that is a concern for all citizens outside the courtroom, because well, maybe you don't. Most things are carried outside the courtroom into the hallways and outside in that parking lot. So that is a concern, but that's not within my purview. That's the sheriff. I hope I answered your question.
Yep.
Chair,
Commissioner
could
Mullin,
I,
do you have any questions?
Chair, permission to ask a
Yeah,
few questions?
Yes.
Thank you,
Go
sir.
ahead, Mr. Gonzalez.
Judge Burrows, thanks for coming. Always,
Yeah.
always a pleasure to see you. And Tiffany and Carly, thanks for coming. Always great to work with you guys. Question that I have is how many other counties and jurisdictions across the state and bailiffs actually carry weapons? Are there others that?
It's a great question. There's 39 counties in Washington. There's only one.
So our
Oh,
jurisdiction.
actually, sorry, one by county, 2, Franklin and Benton. Did I get that right, Carly?
Okay.
Thank you. I just want to make sure I get, so it's,
So I could probably add. Depending on what county you're in, pick a county, Kitsap County. Their sheriff hires retired police officers and gives them a limited commission to do the bailiff duties. And so it just depends on which jurisdiction, which county, those type of things. Benning County, my understanding and talking with the sheriff there, they're going to utilize full 100% uniformed Benton County Sheriff's offices in their courtrooms. And so it just depends on how you're doing them. Most counties, the sheriff goes out and again, I'm paraphrasing this, is they find their retired buddies and they give them a commission and they train them and they go do bailiff work under the sheriff's commission. So it's done a lot of different ways.
Mr. Gonzalez, let me be real clear. I guess I was ambiguous to you to the extent that your question, let me just get to my notes here. As I alluded to at the beginning of my presentation, the Superior Court bailiffs enjoy 2 unique privileges. And I'm getting to that to the extent that they're available, that are not available to any other jurisdictions within Washington. As the sheriff has indicated, it's generally done by a law enforcement officer, specifically the sheriff and their designee. And our unique is that we have that limited commission I spoke about, and their concealed firearm within the courtroom. To the best of my knowledge, I think based on the information I've received, there are only 2 counties that have bailiffs, according to the job description, in all 39 counties, and it's Franklin County and Benton County. No other counties have other bailiffs as we do. It's my understanding.
So Judge, I don't know if you've done a kind of an informal survey. Are the judges feeling trepidatious about not having those weapons in there? And what has been the feedback that you've received?
So, yes, I think the judicial officers are concerned about courtroom security and who carries a firearm and any less lethal measures or mechanisms to utilize within the courtroom that will protect not only the staff, the judicial officer, but all the litigants in the courtroom. So we are concerned. And I will just say, this comes with a difficult decision for the judiciary, because this is a change in the law, and this is how we've done this for 50 years. And so it's nothing we took lightly. So I want you to know yes, we're concerned.
Right.
We would love to see, and I want to put this on the record, we'd love to see an armed law enforcement officer in every courtroom when they're running. So
if they aren't bailiffs that are certified by that commission with the acronym, so that my understanding is it would be judicial assistants
Yeah.
that would take the place. So what are the? Can you explain to the
sure.
crowd what the difference between a judicial assistant and a bailiff would be?
Sure. So in a nutshell, let me just I gave you the packet of the Let me find it real quick. Get my notes. I knew you would ask me.
Yeah, it's a reporter in me. I gotta ask.
Yeah, I gotta ask. So I want to be real clear to the board and to you, Mr. Gonzalez, is that the duties of a bailiff are not going to weigh only their duties to the extent that they will not be carrying a firearm or any taser within the courtroom. So the court has looked into, and Carly, you can stop me if I get going too far. We're looking at other job classifications to the extent that most counties, and I'm just generalizing, so don't hold me to my statement, use judicial assistants that do the same or similar functions as the bailiff without firearms or any commission, limited commission, or any, to the extent that they are the running the recording system, they're taking care of jurors, they're securing the jurors during the trial process. They're doing day-to-day operations within the courtroom and assisting the judicial officer with the functions of the within the court's purview. I want to answer your question because we did provide a job description of Clark County's judicial assistant, and we're, again, I'm having reservations to the extent that Carly's, there still is a collective bargaining agreement, and I don't want to get the cart before the horse. Am I right, Carly?
Yes.
Okay, so there we go. To the best that I can answer your question, I'm going to stop there.
Just a few more questions, Chair.
Absolutely.
How are, I know we share bailiffs. Can you explain to us how the bailiffs are split in terms of they're split
Yeah.
between Benton and Franklin County? Because they work both jurisdictions, correct?
Yeah, they serve, well, first of all, they serve at the pleasure of the judicial officers as a staff member, as a bi-county employee. And I will say that they rotate back and forth between the courthouses quite regularly. In any given day, you know, obviously all three courtrooms here in Franklin County could be running, and you'll have 3 bailiffs running. If you have a jury trial, you might have 4 bailiffs, 2 running courtrooms and 2 running the jury. And as you know, they're a very large jury pool on Wednesday, and there sometimes can be difficulty getting them where they need to go and such. So we utilize them on different functions. So they come back and forth. They're utilized under the bi-county agreement.
So the judicial assistants, is there special training involved with them, or are they essentially security guards?
No. No.
Are they a higher
Oh, they're
level?
not security guards.
And I just want to get that on the record.
Yeah, no.
You know, people.
They will not be providing security in any way in the courtroom.
Okay.
Let me say that again. They will not be providing any security in the
So
courtroom
they will not
starting
enter a
December.
courtroom. I wanted to make that clear.
What's that?
They won't enter a courtroom.
They
Judge?
will enter the courtroom. There'll be a judicial assistant assisting the court in court operations when court is running.
But no security
They will
endeavors at
not
all.
be doing
And he
any
will not
security.
be armed.
They will not be armed.
So essentially, it'll be naked in there without security. Essentially.
They will be come December 1st, 2023. They will not be armed, and they will not be tasked to provide any security within the confines of the courtroom. They will perform at the task as directed by the judicial officer.
And that's what I wanted to make that clear, so
Yep.
the public doesn't think the judicial assistant is going in there to
And I'm not
keep
suggesting.
security without without.
No, I'm on the record.
Okay.
Come December 1, 2023, there is no security within, the bailiff is not going to be providing security as their job duty come December 1st, 2023.
And my only other question: do you anticipate the current bailiffs would transition into that these
well-
judicial assistant roles, so at least they'll have some knowledge of the court
Go
system?
ahead, Carly. Well, I know the answer, but she wants to
Yeah,
make sure I get it.
okay.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if they're all, we hope they apply.
I gotcha.
I hope yeah, there's many things that, and again, I don't know if it's going to be called the judicial assistant, right, Carly?
Correct.
We don't know what it will be called. It may be a reporter, or it could be
Yeah.
some other, where I gave you what other jurisdictions call their positions as just an example of what could occur. Am I good, Carly?
All right.
Okay,
Thank you,
good.
guys. Thank you so
Appreciate
much.
that.
Pepper spray, would they be able to pack pepper spray?
No, sir. No, Commissioner. They are not providing any none whatsoever. That is up, he left. No, he left. Sheriff Freeman.
All right,
So the other counties, you say we're the only two that have armed bailiffs.
Correct.
All the other counties, they provide no security.
I
is that
did
what you're
not
saying?
say that. They have a various form of security, and as Sheriff Raymond has said, majority of them are done by the sheriff's department, or they could be contracted security folks that provide security within the inside of the courtroom or outside of the courtroom. Generally, and I'm being general, based on, I think our research is that it's the sheriff's department, either a form of a deputy or a correction officer. There are some private security that do some work within the courthouse. I hope I answered your question.
You did. I just find it surprising that, from previous discussions, I've heard what the bailiffs make as far as wages, and that's seems quite a responsibility for what they carry and for what they're paid. And these functions here are going to add an extremely added cost to Franklin County.
I don't disagree. I do not. I just don't know what that is or what it looks like. And it could be the sheriff, it could be someone else. It's not for me to decide. It's really up to the sheriff and the board to decide how they want to proceed. And I'm going to be real clear. It's not the court doing it. This is a change in the law.
yes.
It's a change in the law.
Change in
Unfunded
the-
mandate.
Unfunded mandate.
I just want to be on the record. Unfunding mandate that requires a change in limited, or I call it limited commission or special commissions, and the requirements for training. It's nothing to do with the court. We're just, and I want to further say, those commissions are held and signed and given by the sheriff of each county, not the court. Okay, sorry.
Thank you.
Sorry. Anything? Thank you.
Even the contracted labor, as sheriff has to approve.
I
If
gonna
we
stay
were
out
to
of that.
contract bailiffs, then the
I-
sheriff wouldn't have to approve that. It's on your campus, Sheriff.
Sheriff Beck, thank you,
The short
Sheriff.
of that answer is-
Thank you, Sheriff. Thanks for coming to save me.
Have a seat, Judge. The short of that answer is, the courts can employ anybody they want, how they want them. The judges can control those security measures. What the judges don't have, the state doesn't have, is the ability to issue a commission. That is in my preview and my preview only. I get to make those decisions. Now, if you want to hire your own police department, I can certainly teach you how to form your own police department, and you can take on all the liabilities of it, to include the commissions, but it would be commissions for ordinances only, not for felony crimes, whether you're in the city limits or the county. That's also in my preview. Criminal acts and responses to county property and those type of issues. So it seems complex, but it's really not. At the end of the day, no disrespect to the judge and the judicial branch, but they don't have the authority to issue a commission card, period. Yeah, and never have. The way we got around it before, like I said before, was the Benton County Sheriff and the Franklin County Sheriff issued them limited commissions, and they didn't ask permission from anybody, by the way, to do that. And it worked that way for quite a while, but what you're seeing is growing pains with everything that's taking on with courts and all the different things. people, wanting to negotiate their wages, et cetera, et cetera. And you're all free to negotiate away. You're just not free to tell me who I'm going to give a commission card to and when.
Commissioner Mullen, any other question? I just wanted to make sure.
No, I have no further questions. I just,
Thank you. Thank you for your time. Appreciate your time.
Judge. Thank you
We
so
have
much.
another, we have another comment coming forward, though,
Go ahead.
please.
The commissioners would allow. I think it's important to put on the record, we've talked a lot about a change in the law requiring our current bailiffs to go back to basically the basic training academy. That specific law has a provision that states nothing in this section may be interpreted to require law enforcement personnel who are limited authority Washington peace officers, people we're talking about, whose employment commenced prior to July 1st, 2023, to complete the basic law enforcement training academy as a condition of continuing employment as a limited authority Washington peace officer. So I respectfully disagree with the basic premise that the law has changed and now we can't do it the way it has been done. It's important to keep in mind that here in Franklin County, our sheriff has not given them a limited commission. So the bailiffs who work here and have worked here for years are not limited authority. This change in the law, which absolutely does not require these retired police officers who serve as our bailiffs to go back to basic training, also doesn't apply to us at all in Franklin County because they're not limited commissioned peace officers. The reason they are allowed to carry a weapon in our courtroom is because the judges have allowed them to do that. They did a judicial order. There's an RCW that allows security to be armed in the courtroom. And the judges basically did a judicial order several years ago saying that their bailiffs are allowed to carry. It has nothing to do with the limited commission because, again, they don't have one in Franklin County and have not had one. I think it's important to keep in mind we're talking about taking money this body has set aside in the judicial budget for security, using that to pay for people who aren't providing security, and then putting an additional burden on the sheriff's office to provide the security at an additional cost. I respectfully disagree that the law has changed in a way that requires us. As I understand it, the Benton, and I'm not in Benton County, so I don't know, but word is the Benton County Sheriff talked to his risk management team. They don't like the training that the court administration and the judges are giving the bailiffs or not giving the bailiffs, and they perceive that to be a risk. No one's talked to Franklin County Risk Management, and I know the insurance scheme that Benton County is under, because it's the same one that we have. We're all members of Washington County Risk Pool. I've not heard anything from the risk pool about this being an increased risk or liability to us. I'm a little perplexed as to why we're doing what we're doing. It's certainly within the judge's authority to decide to get rid of bailiffs. It definitely falls under the sheriff's authority to provide security on the campus. I disagree that a change in the law has forced this change. And I don't know why they keep saying they'll have to go back to the basic law enforcement academy, because the law specifically says that that is not to be the result. Benton County Sheriff can still pull his commissions. It sounds like that is a done deal, but the Benton County Sheriff's commissions are not why our bailiffs are allowed to carry weapons in this courthouse.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think we're,
Mr. Diggory, thank you. I just want to say on the record, I categorically indicate I disagree with the analysis. I will indicate that from the risk pool, we did contact the risk pool, and the risk pool has made an opinion with respect to the the issues that the court is concerned about, liability. I don't have to come before the board here to talk about qualified immunity, and I'm not here to do that. That's up to the sheriff and other legal folks that have qualified immunity as a law enforcement officer, but it does play in the risk pool issues of the legalities of having non-commissioned bailiffs within the courtroom and the risks that it's associated with that. If we have no limited commissioned qualified immunity, in my assessment, may or may not apply. And therefore, if it doesn't apply, then the liability falls on the judiciary and the county as a whole. And I want to be on the record saying I just disagree, and I agree with the sheriff. It's his commission card. It's not the judiciary's commission card. So that's all I
I
have to say.
think we're going to have more discussion on this later on. We got to be able to digest what we've heard tonight and have more interaction with our administrator and our legal counsel. So thank you, Judge.
Yeah, the last thing, I'd encourage you, I did provide you a number of documents no, there's more.
Oh, there's more?
There is, with respect to that we provided to support our position, and I
All right.
encourage you to read that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Thank you. We move down to public comment. Is there anybody in the room for public comment? Anybody on the phone? No callers? Anybody coming forward? Nobody coming forward? We'll go to the Commissioner Administrator updates. Mr. Gonzalez?
Thank you, Chair. It's been a busy several days, budget meetings. I want to thank Tim Anderson, our Chief Financial Officer. Just been really wonderful to work with, crunching the numbers. So spent a lot of time with Tim these past couple of months. We've had revenue hearings. Also met with the Consor Group that met with our Strategic Growth Committee this past Thursday, just putting the final bow on their financial policies. And, you know, one of the big things that are coming out of that is the fact that we don't have a whole lot of financial policies in place at Franklin County. So that's kind of the next phase that we're discovering. So Tim and I are ready to get work on that portion. Also wrapping up the salary study. So I've been working with our elected officials, department heads, and I think there's really the consensus to expand the scope of that. We've been really digging in and adding extra jobs, and I think what we're discovering out of the salary study is, in certain places we're pretty comparative and we're not as behind some of the other jurisdictions as we thought. But what we're also discovering is that it's not necessarily apples to apples when you look at an hourly wage, because a lot of our employees are multitasking because we have smaller staffs typically. They're multifaceted, so you know, some of the job descriptions are very outdated. So dating back to the 80s in some capacities. So we're enjoying that and really digging in. So Carrie Locke's been great, and the feedback I've gotten from various department heads and elected officials is she's been really good to work with. So you know, hopefully we can continue that and just digging in. Been working with HR and Margot Wilder on open enrollment. So I want to thank the ladies in the HR department, Margot, Lisette, and Maria, who have done just fantastic job this year getting everybody enrolled and getting everybody the benefits. So also working with Margot on some union negotiations. So those have gone well, and just really happy with Margot. She's just done a great job, you know, stepping into that role and just really learning every day and, you know, trying to take it all in. So it's great to have her there. Coming up the next couple of days, we'll meet with Pasco about the future of the HAPO Center. So excited to get those talks started. I don't know what they're going to bring to the table, but we'll see. So I'll definitely keep that in the public sphere. Going to meet with Lords. They're going to put up a sobering center here in Pasco. So that's something I've been working with the sheriff's office on. It's basically a 24-hour sobering center. You get a lot of folks, you know, perhaps they're homeless or they've had a night where they've drank too much. Rather than going to the hospital and wasting taxpayer dollars, they can go here, get sobered up, and then hopefully get them to treatment. So I'm excited to get that going and been working with the Benton Franklin Health Advisory Board on getting that. So some of those mental health dollars can start supporting that. So other thing that we've been discussing quite a bit is just the transition of some departments out to the Michael Davidson building. So been a lot of discussion. Excited to get WSU Extension hopefully out there. To get some of the 4-H kids a little bit easier access to the building rather than downtown. There's quite a bit of parking, so I think that'll be a great use for that. And I told Margot today I do want to keep her in the courthouse just because I like her, and I think she needs access. The staffs need access to her, and really proud to announce the coroner will go out there. And I told Curtis I'm sticking to it, and we won't change him out of there because I think that'll be great. For him to be out there, it's going to be a great place to. There's a really nice area that families can meet with a fireplace. I think it's appropriate, and I promised Curtis I wouldn't take it back because we said he's going and he said he's not. So we talked this morning. So I'm excited to be able to have him in that building.
Good. Well, that'll free up some space in the courthouse area.
Absolutely. So it's gonna work out well.
Yep. Commissioner Mullen?
I just want to first say thanks to Mike Gonzalez on the trying to keep the HR in the building, because I think that there needs to be access for all the employees, to be
Absolutely.
ease of access, and that would be very beneficial. So last week, I had a disability board meeting, also the budget review meeting, going over the budget and the what looks like a reduction of sales taxes collected, even though our portion is fairly small of that, but the amount is still substantial that we're down. Also had the Ben Franklin Transit meeting. They have newly decorated buses to promote the free service for veterans to ride, and so they actually look very nice, and kudos to them because I think that's a great idea that they're providing that service free of charge for our veterans. A way of saying thank you. And that is it.
Well, my last week was an emergency meeting for the executive committee of the Ben Franklin Workforce Development, where we were informed that we got the resignation of our executive director, Tiffany Visso, and it's a tough deal because she was a great leader, but health reasons and family reasons, she had to step down, and so Cynthia Garcia has taken on the interim, and she'll do a great job. That's a great organization run by Todd Samuel, and we won't miss a beat, but we'll certainly miss Tiffany. Ben Franklin Transit meeting, and Commissioner Mullen's right, they presented that. Had the agenda meeting on Mondays. We're doing that on Mondays now, but the meeting is on Wednesdays, so we can get closer to the meeting to get the finalized agenda. Budget meetings, which was an eye popper, I think, for all of us, and we got our work cut out for us. And then there was a Good Samaritan out there in the blocks. We have several community water systems, and we have these Mike, we've really got to look at getting these water districts some help, because these were all put in a long time ago, and they're steel pipe, they're rusting, and they ruptured. This one ruptured on Bellevue Road. Some neighbors went out there, dug it up, fixed it, but the road was completely saturated. And they brought gravel in, and they tried to firm it up. It would not firm up. They called me. I said, call Mr. Erdman with Public Works. They did. And Mr. Erdman said that they would get out there and make sure that they flagged that for the school buses in the morning. And I gave them Craig Erdman's number, and they called him, and Craig answered the phone, and I give my hat off to Craig Erdman for taking care of that, because this was late at night and early in the morning. The school buses are on those roads, and it's a gravel road, and it was completely saturated. There was no stability to it at all in that area. So good job by our county public roads, Craig Erdman. I really appreciate that, and that's the end of my report. Next, we'll go down to elected department head business. Is there any elected or department heads that would like to speak? Hey, Judge.
Hello. I'm tired, so bear with me here.
Okay.
Hopefully I keep you more entertained. So I would like to speak to you about the CJTA funding. How much do you know about it? Because I don't want to overly simplify it, but I just recently learned all about it, so I had to kind of dumb it down for myself. So-
Enlighten us.
What was that?
Enlighten us.
Okay, I'm gonna give you a handout.
Thank you.
So I want to start by saying that in August, Mr. Gonzalez reached out and sent an email saying, there's this funding, are you interested in it? What are we going to do with it? Should we manage it? And I said, what is that? Because I didn't know. And it turns out, in the meantime, he got in touch with the HCA, the Healthcare Authority, and said, we would like to self-manage this money. And so it's a grant money coming to us. But it kind of got dropped, the ball got dropped because HCA had lost some employees. They didn't transfer the email, so it was all kind of confusing as to what was going on. And we just kind of thought it just kind of dropped off the face of the earth for a while. And then I had the opportunity to meet with Shireen from Merit to discuss a different program, a Recovery Navigator program. But she came in and she was very upset and said, you took my funding. And I had no idea what she was talking about. And I'm like, we're here for this, not funding. But we'd like to talk to you soon about therapeutic courts because we need to get a contract with Merit to do the drug testing, to have treatment services and so forth. And she, again, just reiterated that we took her funding. She had heard through the grapevine that the funding was removed. And even if the funding had stayed, and this is where I kind of got my hackles up, she wouldn't be able to support our program, because they're currently using that money to support Benton County's programs. And at that, I got pretty upset, and so I spent the evening researching the CJTA funding and how it works. That's where we get to my little graph here, because it shows that the HCA, Healthcare Authority, has this money, it comes in, and they divvy it out to the counties according to whatever formula they have. And when we have this money, each county is provided so much. And we've decided as a county to combine with Benton County and to use Greater Columbia Behavioral Health as our ASO. And then Greater Columbia Behavioral Health contracts with Merit to provide services for Benton and Franklin residents. If we were to go the other direction, Franklin County would manage, and we would be basically the ASO, kind of divvying out who we're going to contract with and how we're going to use those monies. There are some pros and cons to both, which I can tell you my opinion. I don't necessarily think it matters because it's not my decision to make at this point. But we need a decision, and the reason why we need the decision on how we're going to go forward is because this is preventing me from entering into a contract with Merit or another treatment agency to start our therapeutic court system. We, and I say we as a whole, there was a number of us meeting. We met with Karen from Greater Columbia Behavioral Health and also Shireen from Merit, just to kind of try to break it down. How are we going to do this? What are we going to do? What are our options? How does reporting work? Give us the information, inform us, educate us. And they made it sound like it was a very challenging reporting process. A couple days later, we met with the Healthcare Authority, and they kind of broke it down and said, well, here are the forms. This is what you would need to do. There are other jurisdictions that manage their own money. It seems like it's doable, but reach out to these people and find out if this is something you can do. In the meantime, they gave us the reporting process, and I looked at the first Excel spreadsheet, and I was like, this is great, we can do it, not realizing that there's all of these tabs on the bottom that require a lot of information that somebody would need to have to report appropriately, including codes as far as treatment codes, last use, some really confidential information that it would maybe be a challenge to get a hold of. And this person would need to report for Superior Court, Drug Court, as well as our courts. So they would need to have access to all that information. And we don't have anybody currently on staff here that has access to both Superior and District Courts information for that purpose. But so at first, it looks like it's a great idea to stay with Greater Columbia Behavioral Health and to allow them to manage our money. But my concern is that are we going to get access to that money? Because I do know that it's currently being used to help support those Benton County programs. It's paying for their drug testing and therapeutic courts. It's paying for treatment services. All of the things that it was meant to do, but it was unclear whether they would be able to support our services and our program. And so if we were to proceed with them, I would want to get some sort of contract in place saying, yes, we know this is your money, it's been separated out, and we're going to allow you to use this, your own money, for your system. And have some sort of reporting process that requires them quarterly to provide documentation showing these are the number of Franklin County residents we served or program participants we served. This is how much money that was billed towards the funds because of whatever treatment that they received. And they do use other funding as well, so they'll bill your insurance and maybe use the funding for additional costs associated that maybe that person can't pay for. Because it is a nonprofit and they don't send anyone away. And I understand that, but I do want to make sure that it's clear, if we go that route, that we need to have some sort of checks and balances letting us know that we are getting the bang for our buck that we should be with this money. If we don't, I want you two to know that we're going to need somebody who can manage it if you elect to go through the county administrative route. I have a lot of documentations. I can forward the emails if you want to see what it looks like. As far as reporting is concerned, I know it's $114,000 a year right now, which doesn't sound like a lot, but I think it could get us a long way in our program. It'll get us our testing. It will get treatment services. It will help with transportation. It will help with getting people into inpatient. I mean, there's a lot of things that we can do with this if we have access to it. So I am here not necessarily to give you my opinion, but to ask you to make a decision and get this going so that we can start accepting referrals into the program.
And this is all in reference to the opioid settlement?
No,
funding?
it's separate. So
Separate.
totally separate fund, CJ Criminal Justice Treatment Account, I believe.
Okay.
Has this anything to do with the grant that you were granted?
No. So there's more money. I applied for that grant and I have
Yes,
it.
yes.
Just a legislator said, we have this crisis, we need to provide substance use disorder treatment. Here we go, here's some money. We're gonna break it up according to your population. So that's where that 114,000 came from, because that's our population amount that we would receive.
How soon will you need an answer by?
I mean, last week would be great, but.
Next week?
That would be good too.
I thought you said last
I
week.
said last week, yes. I would like to start accepting referrals, and I would like to get the contract going with whatever treatment agency we select, and it's going to really depend on what you decide.
Okay. All righty.
Thank you.
Thank you. Elected department heads.
So you have questions of me, Commissioner?
Excuse me?
You have questions of me? You said you wanted to interact?
No, I said the way we could interact.
Oh.
When you come at public comment, we can't comment. We can't say anything. We just got to listen.
Well, I'll comment then. So the judge is talking about us opioid settlement money that,
No, that was my question. She said it wasn't.
the opioids, I'm sorry, what you said with the opioid settlement money. So the opioid settlement money, my understanding right now, is that that's been handed over to Benton County to minister.
Has that
No,
been
that's
handled?
false.
Is that false?
Yeah, we have the money in our account.
So we need to keep the opioid settlement money in our account?
Yes.
We need to take
Go ahead.
control of the CJTA stuff, and we need to start looking at the grants that we just randomly throw over to Benton County and look at them as dollars, and then start looking at grants. And yes, I do have experience in grant writing and getting money from grants, and there is always anywhere in every grant, anywhere from 10 to 20% administrative fees that are pulled off the top of that, so that you can have your own grant person that's monitoring the grants, managing the grants. You all are paying for them to manage them so that they're getting the biggest bang for their buck. And that the grants that I told you about here is just one set of grants and one set of funding. If you look at Superior Court, what's pumped out of this county into the bi-county Superior Court system, you might find that we actually have enough money to have a court administrator and to have 3 Superior Court judges, and to monitor our own courts and manage our own courts and expand it into district court and so on. And that's just the grants I'm familiar with. And this county is lazy. They just send it over and they wait for somebody else to manage and supervise those grants. And then we have no accountability pieces that says, what are we getting as we send these grants over? And who's setting the benchmarks, making sure that the people of Franklin County are getting the services. And we can do a much better job by starting to explore that and look at those dollars and where they're going and who's getting them and how they're getting them, and start taking control of our own dollars that we're just sending out. And just a small hint, commissioners, I haven't even got started looking, but I can identify somewhere between $8 and $10 million worth of dollars, taxpayer dollars, that go to Benton County to take care of things. And it's not going to work anymore. We need to start figuring out how it is we create our own court administrator, our own grants administrator, or assistant city administrator, the county administrator that oversees grants and makes sure there's there. And we start being responsible and accountable to the people of this county and make sure that we get the biggest bang for our buck out of grants or taxes coming in.
Sheriff, can I ask you a question?
You can.
Okay, so how many years have you been in office? How many years have you been serving as sheriff?
I'm starting my 9th year.
And this is just now coming to your attention?
Nope.
Because
I knew it all along.
We're newly commissioners. I mean, I've got 1 term under my belt. But I never heard you coming before the other commissioners previous to this and bringing this up.
No, I think you're wrong, but I'm here now.
Well, that's good,
Yeah.
because
The-
we are
the
already.
challenge.
we're-
The challenge is this county's claiming to be broke, and the problem is we're not managing our monies, and we need to look at that and manage our monies, and look at all the issues, because you get color me stupid, commissioners, but why would I want to give in a set of $6+ million worth of grants? Why would I want to give the administrative fees that they can take out of them to Benton County with no benchmarks or no accountability? And I'm just talking about a specific set of grants.
Okay. I appreciate it, Sheriff. Thank you.
Okay.
Do you have a grant administrator in mind?
No,
Good.
but it wouldn't be that tough to find somebody to administrate grants. It's
I think
done
I
in
think it's hard to
minute-
find somebody that's good at writing grants.
Oh, yeah, I can give you all kinds of avenues to find people to write your grants for you.
All right.
But
I'd appreciate that.
we actually have hired an employee in district court to manage the grants that the judges got. He's there to manage those grants. What's it look like to expand that?
Oh, I think that's a good idea.
Those type of things, and let's look after our own dollars. But that's just me as a citizen of this county and also an elected official of the county is, look, if you're broke, then you have to figure out why you're broke. And there's lots of reasons why we're broke, and how we manage our money and send it out of this county is one of the big reasons why we're broke.
Thank you. Any other elected department heads? Seeing none, we'll move down to administration office business. Mr. Gonzalez.
Yes, Chair, thank you. Just to kind of piggyback on what the sheriff said, and I know you and I have talked about this, Chair, about the money's going in and out, and Sheriff and I have talked about it quite a bit. I had a good conversation with Dwayne Davidson, and he suggested this is something we should look into also to kind of see what monies are coming in and out. So the one thing that I've come to see quite plainly going through this process with Judge Orozco and the Sheriff's Department, when we did visit Merritt, we pay a tremendous amount of fees, on top of, that's how they make a lot of money is through the fees. In regards to the CJTA funding with Merritt, I think where it got to sticky wickets is they have kind of an open door policy. So they have, to kind of simplify it, they have a bucket of money filled with Benton County money and Franklin County money. But as people come through their door for services, once the Benton County money runs out, they start using Franklin County money, and they don't ask questions of where the folks are from. So when Judge Orozco asked for the money, they said, essentially, the money's already spent. And so that was the frustration, to kind of simplify things. So this is where I am in agreement with the sheriff that we have to figure out, okay, if you're going to use our money for services, and I'm very empathetic, like I think everybody should get services, but there has to be some accountability, because we didn't even know that they were spending our money. It would have been nice for them to say, hey, your bucket is run out, so when we show up to go get it. So in August, when they asked if we want to manage it, yeah, absolutely, we do. So I think we do need to do more of that. And when Kyle came, I didn't necessarily articulate that point, but that was kind of the point that was missed, is in many capacities, they're using our money for services. Now, the complex thing is that people commit crimes in Pasco that live in Benton County and vice versa. So, it gets a little muddy in the water, but nonetheless, the overarching piece is the accountability. So if Dwayne is up to it, I'm going to try to commission him to, help us out with a study and work with the sheriff's office, because I think it needs to be looked at.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's no question it does, because there's a lot of money that's going over there and I truly believe we need a court administrator. We need our own. Tiffany does an amazing job. I don't want to take anything away from her. She's awesome. But it would be nice for her to be able to not be so overwhelmed. She's got to cover 2 jurisdictions, so I'm sure she would welcome the help in some capacity. But anyway, that was, long story short, I think it just needs to be looked at and brought up.
Well, I'm glad you're already looking into it.
Yeah, we are already looking into it, and I'm committed to work with the sheriff and Dwayne and the departments to see, what we can find. Because if we can save money, because as we saw in the revenue hearings, we've got to save every dollar that we can.
Yep.
So, other things in office administration business, Commissioner Brad Peck, resignation and discussion. So he tendered his resignation Thursday, November 9th, around 3 p.m. via a media press release. So first of all, I want to thank Commissioner Peck for his 15 years of service to the county. Certainly will be missed for his knowledge of policy, acumen. I know I've had many debates with him. He served his country for 20 years and, has given his life to public service. So before anything, we appreciate that. Wish he was here to tell him that in person. So I know he's over in Spokane right now. So with that being said, there's a lot of boards that he's on, and I've got a list of those. So, Commissioner Peck, I believe, is on over 15 boards. So that's going to have to be broken up with Commissioner Mullen and Commissioner Didier, obviously, and then whoever winds up taking over for Commissioner Peck with the appointment. So just wanted to put that on everybody's radar, because there's quite a few. So I might kick it over to Daniel and Jeff procedurally with the new appointments. I haven't been through that process, so if you guys can enlighten me and the public on how we appoint 17 new boards and new board members.
Well, I think the first thing we'll need to do is appoint a replacement for Commissioner
Right,
Peck.
exactly.
And then the board can vote on those appointments and separate
Yeah.
out the duties. Did you want me to go through the
Yeah,
appointment of a replacement
Yeah,
commissioner?
why don't we do that? Because I do want to let the public know the process. Commissioner Peck has said January 1st of 2024 will be his final day. So there is a statutory process, and PA's office has been really gracious and good about getting the actual information that we need the public to know in order. So I'll turn it over to Daniel, who's I've been working with pretty closely on this.
So it's actually a constitutional process. There is a statute related to it, but it's not controlling. It's actually been found to be unconstitutional. But the Washington State Constitution prescribes that the party of the departing commissioner, in this case, Commissioner Peck's a Republican, so the Republican Party of the county is to provide a list of 3 names to this body. They must reside in Commissioner Peck's district. And this body would then have 60 days to choose from that list. If the 2 remaining commissioners were unable to agree after 60 days, then the governor would get to pick from that list. I think we can all agree that it's a decision best kept here and not brought to the governor's mansion. And once the 2 of you have decided from that list of 3 names, I do want to mention a weird procedural thing. To resign, Commissioner Peck would need to bring that resignation to the board. To my understanding, he's not done that yet. I expect him to do that. His resignation is not sort of final until it's operable. So if he gave you a letter saying, I will resign December 1st, which to my knowledge he's not done, but he has made his intentions clear, then on December 1st, those time periods start running. I don't think I've missed.
No, I think that's it. And I think
I have a question.
January 1st was the date of 2024.
I have a question for you, Daniel. As an active member of the Republican Party, I am removing myself as a PCO from that group in this decision from that group so that I don't hinder the ability to make the decision in this for the next commissioner. I'm a PCO and I'm removing myself. Is there any problem with a PCO participating if you're a commissioner?
Not that I am aware of. It's a question that I could look into if you would like me to.
I'm still going to remove myself. I will probably appoint a proxy from my area so that it's represented, but I will not participate in the selection of the 3.
It's my understanding that the constitutional provision leaves it up to the party, the local county level party, to decide. So within the party structure, if that's how you would like to do it, I think that would be fine.
Yeah, I had already planned on removing myself from the PCO selection of the 3. It was the same way when we did the auditor's position. Same thing. We abstained from any of that dialogue with the party picking the top 3.
And I don't know that I mentioned it, and it's probably obvious, but the replacement needs to come from the party of Mr. Peck, so it would have to be a Republican Party
Right.
member to replace. One would expect the Republican Party to pick a Republican, though.
But we're both PCOs, and we're going to remove ourselves from that process of picking the 3.
And again, that's probably not required, but is prudent.
Yes.
Just to be open and transparent, so
Yes.
everybody realizes that
Yeah.
we don't have any part of the selection of the 3. And then again, I looked through that list today of all the boards, and normally those boards are usually redistributed every year. So at least that's the way we did it last time, is we picked and
Okay.
choose.
Well, we usually do that the first few days of January.
Okay.
But we're going to have to wait until the appointment's here so that we can get
Right.
all 3 commissioners to participate.
Daniel, I did have a question in terms of the interview process. I know there's 3 that are supposed to be selected. Will they go through an interview in open public forum here that the commissioners get the opportunity to ask them questions to the public? Or is that a private session, or does that need to take place? Do they just need 3 names?
It is not necessary. That is a process that could be controlled entirely by the commission. You certainly could. I would imagine it would be a matter of public interest. So probably a good idea.
Gotcha.
And I think we probably need to schedule a meeting separately with the commissioners to go over the Superior Court with you that was discussed here tonight.
I
We
think
need
that's probably
further,
important.
we need further dialogue on that.
Yeah, I can help set that up about the bailiffs and
But
everything. Absolutely.
separately with
Sure.
Commissioner Mullen and myself. Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Gonzalez, is there any executive sessions?
No, sir.
Is there any other business for the good of the county?
No, that is it. Thank you.
May I request an executive session
Sure.
related to potential litigation? It's nothing that's been on the agenda tonight so far. I would ask that we have 5 minutes under RCW 423110, subsection I, potential litigation.
For 5 minutes.
5 minutes, sir. Yes.
So at this time, we'll recess into executive session.
saw him come up and shake my hand.
Okay, you want to open the door, Daniel? Thank you. We got to sign these up yet here, Rocky, too.
Okay.
The door is open.
Okay, we are back from executive session. We're back to regular session. Is there any other business for the good of the county? Hearing none, this meeting is adjourned.